the dawn, when the sky dull red is glowing, and the road I will travel is agreed to, I will treasure all the love that you have shown me, and go to rouse the people, for the road I will travel is the surface. Beneath the earth are fallen comrades, dead but living. Amongst the factories and fields they show our purpose, they show that only in fighting are we unvanquished. If today they should close on us life's window, if they brand us and bind us with shackles, yet against them fight the dead beside the living, against them we, you and everyone, waging struggle. We will seize again the land that is a birthright. We will breathe again the limpid air of freedom, and a backward glance will tell us who we were, and today in the battle, who we are.
I sing of my comrades that once did sing in that great choir at Albacete before the battle. Rank after rank of the young battalions singing the Internationale, they came from every corner of the earth. So many men from distant lands, each one with his private history, who took to arms in the defence of Spain's republic.
Well, thank you, Jack, and thank you everybody for welcoming me here today. I'd like to thank Brigadier David Marshall, who put my name forward for this honour. David's poetry, which Marlene sent me, has been an inspiration for the few thoughts I'd like to contribute to this occasion today. I first understood the importance of the struggle in Spain from Martha Gellhorn.
David Marshall, my partner, was very keen on gardens, and he designed this garden and worked very hard in it. He was also very keen on poetry. He wrote poetry all his life, and he loved the classics. He loved Keats particularly. He went to Spain when he was 20, and he took with him 2 volumes of Keats' poems, and not much else really. He didn't have a lot of money. He had a spare pair of glasses and a spare pair of socks, and he just decided one day. He was in Middlesbrough. He was in the Dole office in Middlesbrough, and one of the terrible things that really upset him was the sight of so many good men out of work, queuing up all the way around the Dole office for a measly, I don't know what it was then, about 10 shillings a week to keep themselves and maybe their families.
Forgetting the lean and famine years and all the bitterness and woe, with so many men made idle in my hometown alone, laid off to sign the book and draw the dole, twice a week in shuffling queue and twice a day for dockers to say no work, show 40 card, that yellow badge of the unwanted, to pocket a pittance, the market price of forgotten, jobless, hopeless men.
And then one day he read in the Times. Now he says, now I never read the Times because it was 2pence, and you could get a packet of fags in those days for 2pence. But for once he just happened to find the Times and read it. And there was a tiny paragraph, he said.
And I remember reading a very small paragraph, perhaps about an inch long, which just said, "There is no doubt that if the Spanish Republican government wins the war, a socialist state will be set up." And really, that was the trigger.
And he just thought, right, this is the chance. And we should all fight for this aim. We should all fight for it. And he went. And he went on his own. He didn't sort of have any political party to back him or anything. And when he went, it was in September, I think, he got there. And so there wasn't an international brigade even then. He just went on his own.
Madrid, the magnet that drew us all along slow roads to Spain. At last a star for desperate men, sensing the gathering storm, and we that fought to warn a watching world were called false prophets by appeasing leaders, for we fought for the poor of the world.
greatest threat, besides marching for work, besides being concerned about what was happening, was the rise and spread of fascism. Spain changed all that.
A united anti-fascist front was the sweeping demand in Europe. The People's Anti-Fascist Front won victory in Spain.
Barcelona, it is perfect bombing weather. The cafes along the Ramblas are crowded. There's nothing much to drink, a sweet fizzy poison called orangeade, and a horrible liquid supposed to be sherry. There is, of course, nothing to eat. The flower stalls look bright and pretty along the promenade, but I'm told the flowers are all sold, senores, for the funerals of those killed in the 11 o'clock bombing, poor souls. A passerby says, "What beautiful weather." She stares at the sky, listening for the sirens, and when we see the bombers, they are all like tiny silver bullets moving forever up across the sky.
And of course the war hadn't really started. Not in the bloody sense of war. The great nights were when we walked down the Ramblas, which is an enormous avenue going from the Plaza de Catalunya down towards the port. Enormously wide, with tram lines and trees on both sides of an enormously wide avenue. This would be stacked with stalls with soft drinks and sticky sweet cakes. Big stalls laden with brightly painted foliage and everlasting flowers, and crowds of young people in line, linking arms, swinging along and happy and singing. And there were dozens and dozens of little suitcase sellers selling badges. There were badges, red and gold plastic, for every organisation you think of, the anarchists, the trade unions, the Catalonian parties. You could have bought dozens of them. I think we all bought the Red Star with the hammer and sickle.
El ejército del Ebro, rumba la rumba la rumba la. El ejército del Ebro, rumba la rumba la rumba la. Una noche el río pasó, ay Carmela, ay Carmela. Una noche el río pasó, ay Carmela, ay Carmela. Pero nada pueden bombas, rumba la rumba la rumba la. Pero nada pueden bombas, rumba la rumba la rumba la. Donde sobra corazón, ay Carmela, ay Carmela. Donde sobra corazón, ay Carmela, ay Carmela. Contraataques muy rabiosos, rumba la rumba la rumba la. Contraataques muy rabiosos, rumba la rumba la rumba la. Deberemos resistir, ay Carmela, ay Carmela. Deberemos resistir, ay Carmela, ay Carmela. Pero igual que combatimos, rumba la.
Madrid, you wondrous city. Madrid, you wondrous city. Madrid, you wondrous city, mamita mia. They wanted to take you, they wanted to take you.
Well, if there was going to be foreign volunteers who were going, that's the place to be.
And we knew what was happening, and we thought that if we didn't stop it, then we would never stop it. And I think that's why I volunteered and went to Spain.
War is a terrible, terrible thing. I think it's the worst thing that can happen. Such a lot of unnecessary slaughter and misery. They were also very precious in a way, because life itself was precious.
Our lullabies were soldiers' songs, sung by sad women to the sons of the fallen, and remembered in Remembrance Day long past. After the thudding drum and shriek of bugles, I listened to the slow lament for brothers, sons, and lovers lost. It is the sadness in the singing, the undertones of woe, the deep vein of grief that throbs throughout my generation.
And 10 years before I saw the light of morning, the comradeship of heroes was laid. From every corner of the world came sailing the 15th International Brigade. They came to stand beside the Spanish people, to try and stem the rising fascist tide. Franco's allies were the powerful and wealthy. Frank Ryan's men came from the other side. Even the olives were bleeding as the battle for Madrugada thundered on, to root in love against the force of evil, brotherhood against the fascist clan. Viva la quinta brigada, no pass around the pledge that let him fight. Adelante is the cry around the hillside. Let us all remember them tonight. Bob Hillard was a Church of Ireland pastor from Killarney across the pier.
Whatever they were, whatever their nationality, whether they were communists, anarchists, socialists, poets, plumbers, middle-class professionals, or an Abyssinian prince, they were fighting for us all. A large section of the British establishment saw fascism as its friend. To them, the real threat came from ordinary people. Dreamers, many of them, who imagined a new world in which the dignity of ordinary life was respected and celebrated. Some were wise dreamers and some were foolish dreamers, but they understood the nature of fascism, and they saw through the lies and the deceit and the appeasement. They also knew that the true enemy didn't always wear armbands and didn't always strut or command great rallies, but were impeccable English gentlemen who supported rapacious power behind a smokescreen of propaganda that hijacked noble concepts like democracy and freedom and our way of life and our values. Does all that sound familiar? The historical legacy of the international brigades, as Martha Gellhorn wrote, is that they were fighting for us all. That legacy is needed today more than ever. Impeccable gentlemen now invade defenseless countries in our name. When the judges at Nuremberg laid down the ground rules of international law just after the Second World War, they described an unprovoked, violent invasion of a defenseless country as, and I quote, a crime against humanity, the paramount war crime. The legacy of those who confronted fascism in those days stands as a warning to all of us today, I believe. It's a warning about rampant power, about messianic politicians, about appeasement and truth. I salute the brigaders who are here today. I thank you, and I thank your fallen comrades for what you did for us and for your legacy of truth, moral courage, and resistance.
The planet tilts and springs us into springtime. The star of Venus lifts, her sparrows chatter, and in my garden all the plantings creep from fugitive shoot to leaf, from bud to flower, till all the jubilant earth erupts and spits itself to seeding. But I am past that season, into winter, where seeds and dreams all hide in silence, and hardened by that frosty sleep, await the constant revolution of the world. For move it does, this patient waiting earth, till restless men will it to tilt, and spin us all to brighter, better springs.